Good afternoon. I'm Jaelene Luper, Miss Grapevine, and I'm super excited to get this interview started.
Hello, Miss Grapevine.
Hello, Michael.
Okay. Your platform is called Feed Our Neighbors,
Yes,
and
sir.
it deals with hunger. I would like to know, how will you try to ensure that everyone, regardless of background, income, or educational level, has access to quality food every single day?
So one of the biggest things about this is people need to know where their local resources is. So as Miss Texas, I actually already have a partnership lined up with Feeding Texas to do a food bank tour with all 21 food banks across the state and get recognition to those local food banks so that people know where to get local help if they need it.
Where's your stance on the defund the police movement?
I think it's important that when we say that statement, we need to know what it actually means, which means we need to make sure that the resources for them to get proper training and proper care of their power is what is in place. So I think it's important that we don't defund the police because they are important, but we need to make sure that they are doing their jobs appropriately.
What do you think can be done to eradicate hunger?
This is an issue, unfortunately, that has plagued our world for so long, and it's something that my family even dealt with briefly, but it's one of those things that it's here, and we have to figure out a way to help it the best that we absolutely can.
How do you feel about the cancel culture?
Cancel culture is toxic, let's be honest, but I think it's important that we are letting people redeem themselves because we all make mistakes and we have to learn from them in order to grow and be better people tomorrow.
If your platform issue didn't exist, what would your platform be?
If my platform didn't exist?
Yeah.
Something about diversity and inclusion, because as a Black woman with dreadlocks, I did not always see myself in media growing up, and that's part of the reason I'm here today. I want people to know that they don't have to fit a particular mold to achieve their dreams. They have to be their authentic selves. They have to be proud of that.
Who inspired you for the Miss America organization?
Chandler Foreman. I love Chandler so much. She's just so authentic. And y'all met her, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all know what I'm talking about when I say she's one of the most charismatic people you probably have ever laid eyes on. And I just remember her taking me under her wing before she won Miss Texas and really encouraging me in this organization, seeing that I was someone who was unique and there hasn't been a Miss Texas or a state title holder for that matter with dreadlocks before. So she really encouraged me to keep going and of course to compete for Miss Texas again.
In your best British accent.
I knew this was coming.
Tell me what you learned from being a Texas Ranger cheerleader.
So I absolutely loved getting to interact with the little kids. They are so funny. They love seeing the pretty girls with the skirts on. And I know some people like baseball in here, am I correct? So I know how much kids love coming to the stadium because of the experience. So I want to make it important for them. And as Miss Texas, it's something I plan to do with every person that I meet as well.
Thank you.
Yes, you're so welcome.
In the late 90s, singer Brandy did a very inclusive version, Rodgers and Hammerstein version of Cinderella. And I see you were Cinderella. How'd it go?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked this because I love Brandy, number one. Number two, that actually is a funny story. When I auditioned for that part, there was a girl who literally, before I went into audition, who said, you know you're not gonna get that part, right? Everybody knows that Cinderella has blonde hair and blue eyes. And I'm like, clearly you have never seen the Whitney Houston version. So I luckily went in, I didn't let that dock my confidence, and I think I aced it. So I loved the show, I loved singing in my own little corner. That was probably my favorite part of the show.
New Zealand Olympic athlete that was biologically born male, she's transitioned into being a female. She's going to compete in weightlifting, expected to medal. Should she be allowed to compete?
Just because she transitions, or is it she now, is that correct? Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be the best. So I think it's important that we allow people to feel comfortable where they are. I don't know what the correct answer is for that one because I want to be inclusive of people who identify differently or transition, but I think it's important that we find a way that they can be able to do what they love just as much as anybody else.
Jaelene, what does it mean to be authentic, and do you think you are?
Authenticity is just owning who you are. I came in here knowing I don't necessarily look like everybody else, But that's my superpower, and I'm proud of that. And I hope to empower every one of you as well to be your authentic selves, because we're so much more impactful that way.
What's the most impactful book that you read, and what did you gain from reading that book?
I read this book by Misty Copeland. I just slipped the title. The title of the book slipped my mind, excuse me. But she just talked about her story and how being a ballerina was not always in the cards for her. She had several siblings. She did not have a lot of money, and it was just something that she didn't see happening. But it happened for her because she worked hard and she was passionate about what she did. And it inspired me because that's similar to my own story, having dealt with food insecurity as a child too.
What's your opinion on voter ID?
I think it's important that everybody is voting is alive. I think it's important that people are going to the polls if they are eligible to vote, and that they're using that power to elect our officials.
What do you think we can do to get more of your generation to vote?
I'm actually very proud that this last election, we have seen a voter turnout for my generation more than we have seen in several years. So I think it's continuing what we're doing, using social media to show why it's important to vote, why their voice matters, and as we've seen with those numbers, they have made a difference, and whatever difference that is that they want it to make, they can do it just by going to the polls and using that voice.
Do you believe that big tech should have the ability to censor social media?
When we all sign up for social media, do you know those little boxes that you check? I think if we consent to it, then they have the ability to do it. That doesn't necessarily make it fair, but it does mean that we are agreeing to that, so I think that they do have the power to.
If you could trade places with anyone in history, alive or dead, who would it be and why?
That's a good one. I really love Michelle Obama. She's just, something about her is very iconic and bold and just endearing. And I would just love to see what a woman of her stature does on a daily basis. She's so intelligent and poised, and that's something I aspire to be too. So,
The pandemic and COVID-19 and the lockdown was unnerving for a lot of people. Was it unnerving to you at any point in time? Was there a difficulty that you had to really work on overcoming?
one of the hardest parts for me was figuring out how to still serve in my capacity as Miss Grapevine while being in lockdown, because we went from serving our communities and being in these communities to now being at home. So I figured some creative solutions out, and one of those was a social media campaign to raise food and funds for a local senior care facility. I was able to do just that. It was called Serve Our Seniors. I raised over 50 pounds of food for that senior care facility and a few $100s. So it's all about being creative, and as Miss Texas, that's what I plan to do to bring the mission of our organization forward.
Do you think there should be a physical fitness aspect to this competition like there is in the teens?
I like that idea. I know how important it was for me to be physically fit, because that helps me be mentally fit, right? So I think it's important that as Miss Texas, you're traveling, you're going on different trips everywhere, and you need to make sure that you can keep up. So I think it's important, and I actually ran a fitness challenge on social media too this season. It's called Tone Up Texas, and I was able to get attention of a lot of Texas fitness centers, and that's something that we actually don't have. We don't have a fitness sponsor. I would love to bring that to this organization when given opportunity.
How should people's perception change concerning the Miss America organization?
I believe that people still see this organization as just something that pretty girls with a lot of money do, and that's not true. I'm a pretty girl, but I did not necessarily grow up with the most money. However, we are an organization that empowers women for the world and the world for great women, and we need to show other people what that means. And by serving in our communities, by showing them the impact that we make and the differences that we make in real people's lives, we can show people why this organization is still relevant.
If you could go back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
Shoot for the stars, girl. Well, seriously, so I think of this story when I was a freshman in high school, wanted to try out for cheer captain. But I was like, oh, I'm not gonna get it. I don't have the best skills. I don't have the best whatever, which wasn't true. I just had to grow those skills, right? And I had a coach who was like, you need to try out for captain. And I did, and of course I got it. And eventually I learned that believing in yourself is one of the most important things. And over the years, I worked very hard at cheerleading, and I'm currently on National Cheerleaders Association staff because of how hard I work. So just believe in yourself. You can absolutely do anything you put your mind to.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much for an amazing interview. I really appreciate being here. And I just want to share with you that as a woman with dreadlocks and as someone who dealt with food insecurity, I'm here to show the next generation that they do not have to fit a mold to achieve their dreams. As Miss Texas, I will bring in new sponsors, new candidates, and grow the impact of our organization on social media. And most importantly, I will help close the hunger gap in this state. So thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you later this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.